Okay, now Gongchik. So now Vajra Statement 5:23. Vajra Statement 5:23 says, there is no way that the non-virtues of the secret mantra become virtues. 5:23. There's no occasion when the non-virtues of mantra becomes virtues. So another translation. There is no occasion when through mantra a non-virtue turns into a virtue. I think this is a better translation. Yeah. The earlier translation, the translation in the book that we're working with, gives the impression that it's saying that there are people who thinks, things that are non-virtues in the mantra can become a virtue in some other context. That's not really the concern of Kyobpa Rinpoche. There was no misunderstanding of that sort going around. The misunderstanding that was going around is somehow non-virtues, that Buddha has identified in the sutras. Whether the sutras that teach the individual liberation training or the sutras that teach the Mahayana training, non-virtues described in those contexts, somehow, when you practice secret mantra, they can become virtues. No. So then, this translation is better. It says, there's no occasion, there's no scenario, there's no case when through secret mantra practice, a non-virtue can turn into a virtue. Yeah. So this translation more accurately captures what is the point of this Vajra statement. In fact, many till now, of course, during Kyobpa Rinpoche's time, but even now there are people who think this way. Killing non-virtue, Buddha taught. In secret mantra, killing can become a virtue. I mean, thankfully, I don't think we have any secret mantra practitioners walking around literally like killing people or animals thinking, I'm practicing secret mantra, I'm liberating them and sending them to the Pure Land. But there are people practicing secret mantra ritual, and doing like ritual, even imaginary ritual killing. It's a non-virtue. So we might sometimes think, this person or that person, especially this terrible politician, I'm going to do some wrathful, Vajrayana practice to speed up the disappearing of this person. I actually know people who say things like this. But there is no scenario where a non-virtue that Buddha taught about, in whatever context, can mysteriously, magically become a virtue in the context of secret mantra. And this applies to any of those 10 non-virtues especially, right? There's no occasion where they can turn into a virtue. And so 523, let's look at the commentary. Thus, all the non-virtues of the mantra path. Again, I think the translation here is a little... And that is, the root and branch transgressions, such as killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, drinking alcohol, criticizing the gurus, and so on, they never change from being something that must be abandoned. And there is no occasion in the individual liberation or the bodhisattva traditions when these become virtue. Yeah, it cannot be like that, you know. Yeah, so I think this particular statement and section maybe needs some work in terms of the translation. Let me read to you the translation of Drikung Dharmakirti's large commentary on this Vajra statement. So if you start to study the Gongchik and you become inspired to want to know more about it, so then this book has been published. You can, cannot really see. Yeah. Sorry, but this big book, yeah. And also on the YouTube channel for Drikung Dharmakirti, there's over 100 videos, recordings of a group of us going through this entire text during the lockdown of the pandemic. But this particular series that we're doing now, the brief version, is based on a modern, fairly recent commentary, this smaller book. And a lot of what's in this smaller commentary are extracted from this larger commentary. Okay, now, here, people claim that mantra is a path. So in this larger commentary of Drikung Dharmakirti, he often gives, or he always, in all the Vajra statements, he'll give you the counterpoint. He'll give you the context. He says, what is this Vajra statement really talking about? What is it addressing? So it starts with, people claim that mantra, secret mantra, is a path when one transforms the ground, meaning the afflictions of the three poisons is somehow magically changed into something else. And so here, Kyobpa Rinpoche says, there is no occasion, there's no scenario when through secret mantra practice, something that is non-virtue can turn into a virtue. This is a branch of what we have previously maintained, which is, Chodrat says, this is further emphasizing what we have already discussed. So especially those of you who have been following this series, this comes as no surprise, right? Yeah. So this is a branch of what we have previously already maintained. Mantra is taking the fruit as the path. So Chodrat says, yes, secret mantra practice, different from sutra practice. Different how? It takes the result, the fruit, as the path. That is, which is the path of, can also be known as the path of purifying the ground. So what he's saying here is, it's not transforming the ground. It's not like transforming. Ground here means, what are we working with? And when we say that, now I am on the path, now I have started practicing Dharma, now I am going through the process of becoming a Buddha. So how do we understand this process? There are some statements found in the tantras and then in the commentaries, and therefore there are some who say What this process is the process of transforming. Yeah? And they literally believe that it's transforming. So somehow, right, afflictive emotions can be transformed into wisdom. So what you're hearing here, you're like, oh yeah, I've read that, Sometimes even, maybe you have heard me saying that. Right? You transform your afflictive emotions into wisdom. So it's not that such expressions are not found. They are definitely found, right, in the Tantras, and then in the commentaries, and then in the way that teachers teach about this topic to others. It's definitely there. But here, Jigten Sumgon is saying, whenever it says transform, you need to really understand that actually it's not literally transforming. Because what is the ground? Meaning, what are we working with when we say, I'm working on, right, becoming a Buddha? What are we really working on? So he says, and so Chodra, following Jigten Sumgon's tradition, says, we're working on purifying the ground or clearing the ground. So what is the ground? The ground is Buddha nature. What are we clearing Buddha nature of? The temporary stains and obscurations. In other words, the afflictive emotions, the mental defilements. That's what we are doing. Buddha nature itself, the Buddha that we are already, need no improvements. Need no transformation, you see. What is needed is to remove that which is not part of that nature. Clear that. Get that out of the way. So an analogy would be gold that are found in nature. Gold, right? Gold ore, we call them. What happens when you find gold ore is you need to purify so that it becomes only pure solid gold. How do you do that? You smelt, you burn that gold until all the impurities have been removed. So in that strenuous process, right, of smelting gold, burning away all the impurities that coexisted with gold in the form of gold ore. Yeah. What are we really doing? We are not really improving the gold, right? We're not making the gold more gold. We're just removing that which is not gold from gold. So that's why we say it's the path of purifying the ground. It's not the path of transforming the ground. It's definitely not the path of making new ground. Yeah? He goes on. This removes, so what are we saying when we say purifying the ground? Well, this removes the defilements consisting of the adventitious impurities. Adventitious means, temporary, doesn't belong, foreign, not part of. Removing. This removes the defilements consisting of the adventitious impurities of oneself, established primordially as the deity. So removing from yourself who is primordially Buddha, primordially deity. That when this is all successfully and completely removed, this is when we say you have become a Buddha. I'm still reading the commentary. However, it is not so that something that does not exist on the ground is either sought or transformed. As I said, it's not like you transform the ground from something that it isn't to something else. Neither is it, either sought, meaning you're not creating new ground. No. Therefore, being nothing but the true nature of the purified ground and not a transformation, it is also comparable to the vehicle of perfections. Meaning, therefore, secret mantra, what is going on in secret mantra is no different from what is going on in the vehicle of the perfections. In other words, in the sutra tradition. They are both talking about purifying the ground. This is like the Exalted One teaching how to purify the veils through skillful means, providing the example of the roll of silk as large as 1 billionfold worlds. So this roll of silk as large as 1 billionfold worlds is referring to an example the Buddha used, by illustrating it with like a scroll of silk as large as 1 billionfold world. It's rolled up. So this rolled up scroll, when you unfurl, all the whatever is painted in the scroll, becomes clear. You're not like newly creating. That's the point. On no occasion, so this gets back now to the main meaning of this Vajra statement. On no occasion does one perform non-virtue of the mantra vehicle, namely the root infractions, because it becomes virtuous when performed for the sake of others. So here, the language is in fact non-virtue of the mantra vehicle, as translated in this. But here the point is, even in the context of secret mantra, there is no scenario where you can do what is identified as a non-virtue in secret mantra and say, oh, this becomes virtuous because I'm doing it for the sake of others, for the benefit of others. And he says, no, that scenario would never occur. Don't kid yourself. And also don't be fooled by others when they say things like that. Moreover, even though the transformed mental defilements, the 5 poisons, are called the 5 wisdoms, so here he actually addresses the idea of, right? I mean, yeah, we do find, expressions like this. The 5 poisons are transformed, are turned into the 5 wisdoms, right? So even though the transformed mental defilements, meaning the 5 poisons, are called the 5 wisdoms, this is not like changing a white woolen cloth by applying color. So he's saying, yes, there is teachings on how to transform the 5 kleshas, right, into the 5 wisdoms. But the way most of us understand that and try to practice that is as if we have white cloth and we dye this piece blue color, we dye that piece red color, we dye that piece yellow color, and we think, oh, This is the transformation. Yeah. So it's like, don't think, oh, the 5 afflictive emotions, the 5 root afflictive emotions, right? Ignorance, ignorant confusion, attachment, aversion, jealousy, and pride, right? Then you say, now I'm practicing secret mantra. Oh, yes. Now, anger is being transformed. How? Vajra anger. Instead of cursing people with the usual curse words, right? You are cursing with wrathful mantras. And you think, oh, I have transformed my anger. He says, that is like taking your white cloth, dye it in red color, now say, oh, it's something else. No, it's the same cloth. You just painted the cloth red. That's not transformation. That's not the transformation that the Buddha is talking about when he says transform the 5 kleshas into the 5 wisdoms. How is it done? It is done according to that which is expressed in the terms of realized and not realized. So he's saying there, when Buddha uses the language of transforming the 5 afflictive emotions into the 5 wisdoms, what is really going on is, first of all, it's a poetic expression of transformation. It's not literal. And what does that poetic expression of transformation refer to? It's referring to seeing clearly or not seeing clearly. In other words, seeing clearly, there is realization. Not seeing clearly, no realization, therefore confusion. When we see clearly and truly what anger is, the nature of anger, meaning empty, the appearance or the playing out of anger according to causes and conditions. Temporarily, anger consumes us completely. See the temporary nature of this anger. See the mechanics of how this anger arose. The moment you are able to see some of this, not even the full extent, of course, if you could see the full extent, then immediately that anger has no power over you. But even to be able to see just a little bit of that, it's like it has been transformed. Now it becomes, now what arises is the mirror-like wisdom. The mirror-like wisdom is talking about how objects appear in front of the mirror is never affected by it. And no matter how long a particular object stays in front of the mirror, it stays there for 1 day or 10 million years, it never leaves, the image imprinted on the mirror. The minute, right, this lighter, goes away, immediately the image on the mirror also goes away. So now a quote. As Nagarjuna said, Samsara and Nirvana do not exist as 2 distinct things. Does not exist as 2. Knowing the nature of samsara is called nirvana. Recognizing. The moment we recognize the nature of samsara, the moment we recognize any of the afflictive emotions for what they are, that is realization. That is nirvana. That is a glimpse of what nirvana is. And in that sense, you could say the five kleshas, or any of the kleshas, has now been transformed. But know that we're not saying non-virtue can transform into a virtue. The non-virtue of killing cannot become a virtue, no matter what the context. Now, this is not to say, therefore, absolutely under no circumstance would we engage in killing. It's also not saying that, It's just saying that, now my understanding, so I have to say that, this part, or the way I relate to this, not my understanding I've already shared with you, which is what the Buddha taught, what Jigten Sumgon clarified, right? That's the understanding. But how do I personally kind of take this to heart? To me, it's not yet at the level of, I say, absolutely under no circumstance will I kill, right? But for me, what it's saying is, if we find ourselves in situations where we feel we have to kill, whether a bug or whatever, right? Never ever think that is virtuous. Even if it means, preventing a kid, right, from being infected with the Zika virus or dengue. Know that insofar as that killing, the act of that killing is concerned, is not virtuous. Your intention to prevent this person from being infected by this terrible virus, malaria, dengue, Zika, right? That is virtuous. But that killing, don't kid yourself and think, oh, it's virtuous because I have bodhisattva intention. So this is the nuance and carefulness that Jigten Sumgon wants us to pay attention to. Jigten Sumgon is not teaching his own teachings, He is clarifying the Buddha's teachings for us. Okay, so we will stop here today. And let's do dedication. Sublime, precious, venerable, and glorious root and lineage gurus, assembly of Idam deities, Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas dwelling in the 10 directions, and all assemblies of Vedas, Viranis, Yoginis, and Dakinis, please heed me. May the virtues collected in the 3 times by me and the entirety of samsara and nirvana and the inherent root of virtue not result in the 8 worldly dharmas, the 4 causes of samsara and the resultant states of hearers and solitary realizers. And may all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, particularly those enemies who hate us, obstruct us, who harm Those who create obstacles, Maras who mislead, and their Mara retinues have happiness, be separated from suffering, and quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, and precious Bodhi by the power of this vast root of virtue. May we benefit sentient beings with body, speech, and mind. May the afflictive thoughts of attachment, aversion, ignorance, pride, and jealousy not arise in my mind stream. May thoughts of name, fame, gain, respect, and so forth in this life not arise for even a moment. With my mind stream moistened by love, compassion, and bodhicitta, may I come under the care of virtuous spiritual friends, and having become as limitless as space, may I achieve the supreme attainment of Mahamudra in this very life. By the virtues collected in the 3 times by me and the entirety of samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious Bodhi. Okay, so we will meet on Monday, yeah, and then a few days while I'm traveling and settling down first, then we will continue. Yeah, but this Monday we'll meet. Okay, bye bye.